Going to have to make some hard decisions, but I have to say, in respect to that interview from Vince, and I like Vince, but that was an extraordinary, nothing to do with me, Gov, interview that seeks to hoodwink the British public.
Well, he was saying he disagreed with it. He's from a different party from the...
But he doesn't. But the fact is, let's be clear about this. You very correctly put the question to him, have you not been part of a failure? I mean, to listen to him commenting there about, I'm not prepared to go along with policies which will hit lower and middle income earners hard. I mean, what has he been doing this Parliament, if not that? We have seen many people on lower and middle income incomes being hit with cuts in out-of-work benefits. We've seen him signing off a huge tax cut for people earning £150,000 while they're doing these same things at the same time. And you're quite right to point out that, you know, look at their two fiscal mandates. To get debt falling as a percentage of GDP by the end of this Parliament, they failed on that. And to get the current budget to eliminate the deficit, which they failed to do. And that's why they're borrowing. I mean, let's get this into context. £219 billion more than they planned over the course of this Parliament. Adam, that is the equivalent of the transport, health and defence budgets put together for this financial year.
But you know perfectly well what they say. They say, look, the trajectory we were on when we were elected in 2010 was worse than we thought. And our policies have now turned around the economy to the extent that we have one of the fastest growth rates in Europe.
In some senses, they're trying to have it both ways. On the one hand, we saw a global financial crisis, which had global origins during our time in government. They said that was all the fault of the domestic government.
And now they're
seeking to say, actually, all these problems now are global. It's got nothing to do with us. The other thing that they have failed to say is what we are interestingly seeing now is a coming together of the living standards issue that so many people are facing because they haven't had a pay rise. You read the Office for Budget Responsibilities report today. They're clear why they have failed to reduce the deficit and our debts. And that is because although more people are in work, they are earning less. On average, £1,600 less than they were at the beginning of this Parliament.
But the projections are that those real-term wages will go up over the next 5 years.
Well, that's based, the OBR is very clear, that's based on productivity forecasts, which are, in essence, very uncertain.
But given that we are where we are, if you are in government in 5 months' time... you're going to have to cut very drastically, aren't you?
Look, we're going to have to make some very tough decisions because it offends me, frankly, that we're spending more on our debt repayments, over 50 billion this year, than we are saying.
So to hit that target, what are you going to cut?
Well, we've already said that, for example, we will limit the increase in child benefit to 1%, which will be a real terms cut across the course of the next Parliament of 400 million. We will not be going ahead with winter fuel allowance for the very richest pensioners. There are undoubtedly going to be very tough decisions. We said that we'll take... Well, as a starting point, we will take for their day-to-day spending totals, their plans for 2015-16. And most importantly, what we're going to do is I think people want to know that every pound that you spend properly, which is why we're doing this zero-based review. And actually, it's very interesting. You know what he was saying about the Office of Budget Responsibility needing to... He wants them
to... Well, they refuse to cost your plans.
That's
they said that's not their job.
You know, if he wants them to cost Lib Dem and Tory plans, let's have them cost Labour's plans too.
And what about the public sector, though? Because I think there is an agreement across the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives in government that the squeeze on the public sector, both in terms of pensions and pay, is going to have to continue.
Well, we've said 1%. We accept the kind of cap on public sector pay increases to 1%. But look, Adam, you're talking to me purely about cuts here. We know that unless we get people's wages up by doing things like strengthening the minimum wage...
Well, wouldn't you?
Well, we would on the very richest, because we believe that those with the... Look, I didn't go into politics to tax people, right? But we've got a debt and deficit to deal with, and to reduce that, we are simply asking that those with the broadest shoulders bear a burden.
Let's take, for example, the mansion tax proposal. Effectively, what they've done today on stamp duty obviates the need for that mansion tax.
Do you know what it is?
It's hitting that 2%.
This is a massive U-turn. We have had to sit week by week listening to that Chancellor of the Exchequer saying this is outrageous that you want to tax high-value properties more. Well, now he seems to accept the principle. Now,
this is you can't bag that money now, can you? Because he's getting that money in a different way.
Look, we support what he wants to do.
Do you still support a mansion tax?
Duty. We still support our high-value property tax that we're proposing because
as well, in addition.
Yes, in addition, and that's something that obviously you pay year on year, whereas a stamp duty thing is that's just paid on the transaction of the property. But why are we doing that? That's because, look, everybody watching this programme, my constituents in Streatham, want to know that we're going to resolve the issues in terms of the NHS and the funding crisis with C&A&E, with people having to wait far longer to be treated. We've got to raise the monies to do that. We're clear. We're not going to make any commitments that we cannot cost and fund, and we'll do that with our high property value tax.
Chuka Umunna, thank you very much indeed for joining us.